It's an absolute glorious day here in York, and I'm standing outside of the amazing York Minster. This place has an absolutely remarkable history. Join me as I'm about to go inside and explore.
A minster is a church which was originally founded way back in the Anglo-Saxon period, over 1,000 years ago.
And I hear that St. William is actually here.
He is indeed. He's in the crypt, and we can go and look at his tomb.
It sounds fantastic. Let's go and see him. This is the window that shows St. William's life and miracles, is it, Jeremy?
It is indeed, yes.
Okay.
Including his most famous miracle, the collapsing bridge.
Jeremy, lovely to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Thank you so much for your time.
That's my pleasure.
I'm really looking forward to this guided tour. This place is absolutely spectacular. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to learning off you. I'm sure you have plenty of nuggets of wisdom for me. So, Jeremy, why don't we begin by you telling me a little bit about the history of York Minster?
A minster is a church which was originally founded way back in the Anglo-Saxon period, over 1,000 years ago, after the Romans have left, before the Vikings and the Normans and people like that have arrived. But crucially, it's founded by a missionary, a person who brought Christianity to this particular place.
Okay.
Now, in our case, our founder was a missionary who was also a bishop. A bishop sits in a chair called a cathedra. That's the cathedra.
Okay.
That's what makes it a cathedral. So we are a minster and we are a cathedral.
So you're a minster and a cathedral?
Yeah, not all cathedrals are minsters, not all minsters are cathedrals, but we are both. We've had a cathedral here since Norman times. That's mostly gone. We have now is a huge Gothic building.
Yes.
Built between roughly 1220 and 1472.
Between 1220 and 1472?
This is why everybody says it took 250 years to build.
Wow.
However, that's misleading because they didn't just smash out the normal one and throw it away. They recycled a lot of the material.
Yeah.
Its ghost is still here, really.
Yes.
And so I think you have to say it took about 400 years because the Norman one is completed around about 1100.
So it took 400 years to build this?
Essentially, yes.
It's amazing. But at the same time, I'm not surprised. Look at it. It's absolutely spectacular.
Yeah.
So, Jeremy, tell me a little bit more about the building.
Well, as it happens, this is just about the best place to do that because we're right in the centre.
Great.
It's a cross-shaped building. It's cruciform, west, east.
Ah, in the
north.
shape of a cross?
Yep, south. That's fairly typical. Well, look up.
Wow.
Our great central tower. Now, that's one of the last parts of the building to be completed. It's in what we call the perpendicular phase. That's the third phase of English Gothic. Because it took so long to build, we've got all three phases. We generally say that the north transept and the south transept here are early English from the 1200s.
Okay.
The nave out there with the beautiful heart of Yorkshire window top.
Okay.
That's in what we call the decorated phase of Gothic, and that just does what it says on the tin. You know, this was really decorated. The east end, where we've just been, is a bit of a mixture of decorated and perpendicular. And the great central tower is
above us.
Pure perpendicular.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah. Weighs 16,000 tons. Nearly fell down in the 1960s.
So, Jeremy, I see a lot of monuments of archbishops all around us. And I know particularly in the Middle Ages, they were very powerful people, weren't they?
Indeed they were.
Yeah.
And they had their fingers in many pies, political as well as religious.
Yeah.
A very good example of that, of course, here at York is our very own St. William of York.
St. William. And I hear that St. William is actually here.
He is indeed. He's in the crypt, and we can go and look at his tomb.
It sounds fantastic. Let's go and see him.
Follow me.
So here we are. This is the crypt.
That's correct, yes. Here we have the tomb of St. William of York.
Wow. Amazing. So tell me a little bit about St. William, Jeremy. When was he born and what was his life like?
We don't have an exact birth date, but we assume sometime in the 1090s.
Okay.
He was very, very well connected. He was definitely an aristocrat. He was probably a great-grandson of William the Conqueror by a rather roundabout route.
Really?
Yep. He was certainly the nephew of King Stephen, the king in his own time.
Wow.
So he's a very well-positioned individual, but he became a priest, and eventually he was elected as Archbishop of York, but there were big problems around this. We're talking about 1140. Essentially, in those days, when an archbishop was appointed, there were three bodies involved: the cathedral chapter, and of course the Pope at that time. It was very rare that you got all your ducks in a row. You didn't often have a situation where those three bodies all agreed. And in fact, there was so much contention about this that he was essentially barred from the Minster.
So he was elected Archbishop by the chapter, but then what happened after that?
Well, the Pope was not entirely in agreement. He was very much under the influence of the very powerful Cistercian order of monks. They wanted a Cistercian candidate. His uncle, the king, was on his side, but his uncle, the king, was in almost a state of constant feud with various people, including his cousin, the Empress Matilda.
Okay.
And it just wasn't practically possible, I think, for William to take up the post, and he was effectively barred from the building.
He was barred from here?
Barred from the building, and it was quite a few years. It wasn't until 1154, 1153, 1154, that he was re-elected, and this time it was official. He'd been in Rome to state his case. He might have been unpopular in many quarters, but the ordinary people of York seemed to have really liked him.
Okay.
And when they heard that he was coming back, They were very excited. And as he approached the city, the story goes that thousands of people gathered in the city centre, and the best place to see him arrive was his bridge. Those days there was only one bridge over the river, right in the middle of town. He had to cross it. Loads and loads of people clambered onto the bridge to get as close to him as possible. And you can probably guess what happened. The bridge collapsed under their weight. They all fell in the river. A deep, dangerous river. Real risk to life and limb.
Yeah.
William apparently made the sign of the cross over the water and prayed. And no one was lost, no one drowned.
No one died?
No one died, except for one horse.
So, Jeremy, what year did William die? When did he pass away?
It was 1154.
Okay. He died in 1154. So what happens after that?
Well, they buried him in this coffin. Not in this particular position. It's actually a reused Roman coffin with...
This is?
Yes, it was a medieval lid. A bit too small for the box, actually.
Yeah.
And it was set into the floor of the nave, at the central tower end of the nave. If you look at it, you can probably see about here, there's a colour change. Everything below my hands was below the floor.
That's right, it's a different colour.
Everything above my hands was visible. Now, he's not been canonised yet, he's not a saint, but almost immediately people start to report miracles, mostly miracles of healing at the tomb. Early the following century, in fact in 1227, he's canonised, he's officially declared to be a saint, and a little bit after that, he's moved, not the whole coffin, the coffin stays where it is, but his body is moved through into the choir, to the old Norman choir, where a new shrine is built. And there are two shrines, there's the empty one and the one with the bones, and people are visiting both. Maybe as some kind of crowd control measure, so they're not everybody's ending up in the same place at the same time. They did remove his head, apparently, and they put that in the silver box. And I suspect the silver box containing the head remained with the original coffin.
Okay.
But that was plausible because apparently we used to loan his head to various other people, such as the monks at St Mary's Abbey down by the river, just once a year. And there's some suggestion that there was a third box of bones that used to get passed around. Well, this has only been here since 1968. It was rediscovered during all the excavations under the middle part of the Minster.
So this is the window that shows St. William's life and miracles, is it, Jeremy?
It is indeed, yes, including his most famous miracle, the collapsing bridge. Just above the first cross piece.
Right.
You should be able to see William actually in a ship.
Yes, I can see that.
Making his way back from Rome, I presume.
Rome, yeah.
Now, immediately above that,
I see.
you've got him on the bridge, making the sign of the cross. Now, it doesn't look as if the bridge has actually collapsed at this point, but I think it's
on the way down.
It's on the way down.
Can I check it out?
Yep. So it's a 3 from the left, just above the first cross piece.
Oh, these are great binoculars.
Just above the boat.
Ah, yes. And I can see him there making the sign of the cross. And I can actually see the horse there as well.
Yes.
Amazing. Is there another miracle there from when after he died?
2 rows higher up,
Yes.
and slightly to the left,
Yes.
was William lying in an open tomb
I can see that.
with some flames.
We get a closer look.
Yep. There is a story that at some point there was a fire and burning roof timbers fell on his coffin, broke the lid, and somehow didn't damage the body.
Amazing.
And sweet-smelling liquid is supposed to have flowed from the tomb following the fire. I mean, that's a fairly common medieval story, actually, but seems to have happened to William as well.
So after the fire, the body wasn't burnt, but instead there was a sweet smell coming out.
Yes.
Sounds good. You know, as I walk around this absolutely fascinating cathedral, and as I reflect upon the remarkable life of St. William of York, one thing is very clear to me, that the events in his life certainly didn't go the way that he planned or the way that he wanted. And maybe you can relate to that. But despite what happened, one thing that really struck me was his unwavering confidence, trust, and faith in God. But, my brothers and sisters, what does it mean to have faith? What does it mean to have an authentic faith? We can't just say that, okay, to have faith, I believe in the creed or I believe in the Bible. That's limiting our faith. Our faith is a belief in a person. Our faith is a belief in God. Our faith is a relationship with God. The Catechism tells us that faith is the virtue by which we believe in God and believe all that He has said and revealed to us. You see, my friends, faith is in the present. Faith is in our hearts. Our faith is based on how God has acted in the Scriptures, all the way through salvation history, and also based on how God has acted in my own life. When I look back on my own life, I can see how God has provided for me. And I take that information and I project that into the future. That's what hope is. Hebrews chapter 11 verse 1 tells us that faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the evidence of what I do not see. So faith relates to the unseen. Faith relates to the invisible. Faith relates to eternity. Faith relates to heaven. You know, for ourselves, it's easy to say, you know, we trust in God. But in the reality, it's not really a trust in God, it's a trust in ourselves. I know for myself, not long after my conversion, I would have always proclaimed, yes, my faith is in God alone. My trust is in God alone. But when things wouldn't go my way, or I didn't get what I wanted, I'd very easily become discouraged and disappointed. But my reaction, my disappointment and my discouragement, that only revealed and highlighted all along that my faith, my trust wasn't really in God, but in myself. My self-sufficiency and my self-reliance was born out of having faith in myself. So what does it mean to have an authentic faith and trust in God? What does it mean for us and those that are listening? It means that my trust and my security is in Him alone. It means that my happiness rests in God alone. It means that I have to have faith in His faithfulness. It means I have to have faith in His goodness. It means I have to have faith in His fatherhood. I have to have faith in His providential care for my own life. That's what that means, to have faith and trust in a good God. Jesus tells us very clear in the Scriptures that apart from me, you can do nothing. He didn't say you can do something. He didn't say you can do a little bit. No, what He said was, apart from me, you can do nothing. But with Him, my friends, we can do everything. Thank you so much for journeying with me today. My name is Niall McDonagh, and I hope to see you next time. God bless you all.